All right, everybody. We are live for late night gun chat. I know my internet's running kind of slow back here in the mountains of Alaska. So sorry for the poor picture quality. I know it's lagging pretty bad, I've been told already. So anyway, guys, hope you're doing well. So late night gun chat, all we do is answer your questions about firearms, politics, self-defense, hunting, firearms, that kind of thing. We can't show any of those firearms on YouTube live, which kind of stinks, but that's that. So looks like we're starting to get some people in here. We've got Grizzly Crazy, Mr. FNH. Love you, Chuck. I love you too, man. I love you too. And we can agree to disagree, brother. Trump's still a rhino though. But is what it is. So, but yeah, good conversation yesterday on Instagram. Appreciate it, Mr. FNH. So yeah, and thanks for being like the first person to comment on my music channel today. Appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, I write classical music. I put up a string quartet Christmas carol this morning, so go look it up. I'll put the name of the channel over in the chat. So, all right, reloading Weatherby is here. So, all right, now we can JJ Griffin. DY on Facebook had a funny moment earlier about a deer blind. Just see that. Eugene, how you doing? Nice to see you. Glad you're here. All right. So again, late night gun chat, and we are just taking your questions. So that's that. We're gonna be joined by Bullets4Bucks here in a minute on his channel when he's ready. So make sure y'all go give him a like and share and subscribe and all his stuff. Great channel for like reviews of actual firearms, hunting stuff, especially. Cuddling my 4-month-old Doberman puppy. Yeah, no, that's the life right there. Is FNH a moderator on every channel? He's ban happy. I don't know why I made him a moderator, but I did one time. Only one time, and that's all it takes. Once a moderator, always a moderator. I'd have to get in there and take him off. He hasn't ticked me off that bad. All right, I shoot big elk on Saturday with 300 H&H. You shot a big elk. Sweet. Send me some pictures, dude. Instagram or Facebook or MeWe or Alaskan Ballistics at Gmail. Something like that. Gotta know if you've had any chance to use the new RCBS Chargemaster Supreme. Looking to get one. No, I was using the Lyman 6, whatever they call it. I got it sitting right over here. Yeah, I don't like it at all. So I wouldn't. Maybe the Chargemaster is better. I know a lot of people are swearing by the what is it? The Fort? No, I forgot. I'd have to do that. So anyway, all right. Without further ado, here is Steven from Bullets4Bucks. You want to tell everybody about your channel and what you do and everything?
Yeah, so my name's Steven Bresna. I have the Bullets4Bucks channel. It's all one word with the number 4. People get that mixed up. We do basically hunting content, gun reviews, and optics reviews. That's primarily what we do. There's some other stuff in there as well. I'm based out of basically north central Wyoming. So I film a lot of I film bear hunts, elk hunts, antelope hunts, deer hunts as part of the channel, but a lot of hunting gear reviews. So that's who I am. So yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, so we had our first question. Got to know if any of y'all had a chance to use the new RCBS Chargemaster Supreme. Looking to get one. So JJ Griffin has that. I'm telling him not to buy the Lyman I have. I don't like it. The what is it? I forgot what it's called exactly, but it's the Model 6 of their electronic dispenser. Don't buy it. But there's one that everybody seems to love. I think it's from Forster or Frontier or something. I forgot who it's from, but everybody seems to love it.
Yeah, I have no comment. I'm not really a reloader at this time. I was kind of saying I can answer a lot of hunting or guns or optics questions and maybe some like factory ammunition questions better. But
all right. Reloading Weatherby wants to know if you hunt with any Weatherby cartridges. I already know the answer to that one. Yeah.
Well, I haven't yet. I am going to. I just got the Weatherby Backcountry 2.0 and 6.5 Weatherby RPM. which I've done, I guess, 2 initial reviews on that rifle, and then I was using the 127 grain. What is it? It's one of your favorites, LRX. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I was having issues with extraction. The cases were seizing up in the chamber area. Maybe that's because of pressure. I'm not sure. I'm gonna go through things and test it again. Then I'm also going to test it with 140 grain Barnes ammunition as well here pretty shortly. So
Okay. Um. So the overexpansion a lot of times, especially if it went in smooth, a lot of times it'll be a miss shaped case. So if somebody else reloaded you for it, those for you, because I know LRX is not a factory ammo.
it is
It
it,
is
this well it they use it's Weatherby it's loaded with
Weatherby
LRX.
uses it. Okay.
So it was
Okay.
Weatherby. I think it's like select. They have like 3 levels of ammunition, and then I'm
Hmm.
going to be trying the 140, and it's going to be factory as well, Weatherby. I've heard a lot of reports that the problems with that 127 in that 6.5 RPM. Like I guess I'm not the only one. Hopefully I get better results, and the rifle's new too, so we'll see how things pan out. I'm going to do more testing on it before I make
Yeah.
a decisive
This sounds
decision.
more like an ammo issue than the bullet itself. Like they got it to too high a pressure, or they've got the case shaped wrong. Um.
Right, right, and it's shooting, I think, around 3,200 feet per second, if I remember right. So it's
Okay.
pretty high velocity, and I expect it probably won't have that problem with the 140s. I know it, yeah, it's probably not really the bullet, but the ballistics of the cartridge as a whole and the loading of it. So we'll see what happens. But
What 140 Barnes do they have? Because I thought they only had the match burner after 127. I mean, when I look
I
at the
pro
65, it's
I me I messed up. It's a Hornady interlock.
oh, okay, yeah,
My bad.
it's
Yeah, I just
not a horrible bullet. I mean, uh, caribou and down, I would use an interlock. I wouldn't use it for anything more personally, but it's not a horrible bullet. Um,
yeah.
I was just trying to think of what Barnes. So honestly, I mean, if it's only sending that 120 grain LRX, I don't see 3200. I just don't see the point of it over a 6.5 PRC. So
It's there's not a lot of advantage. There is some. I don't know all the numbers, off my top of my head, but I know there's a little
right.
bit of advantage, but it's almost negligible for the most part in most like hunting scenarios. So yeah, not a huge advantage. Um, I think it goes, in general, with most factory loads, it's going to go a little bit faster, but it's not a
Yeah,
huge difference.
yeah, because I know if you reload, I'm looking at it right now here on my reloading manual. Um, the Magnum powder is 3190 for 6.5 PRC.
Okay.
Most of the other powders and the powders that you can actually find right now, here in Alaska anyway, are around 3100. So you get about 100 feet per second more.
That sounds about right. I'm looking up also their factory offerings because I know there's 3 offerings from Weatherby,
Hmm.
just so I don't mix it up again here.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a cool. It's a cool round. I sold a gun. One of or he won a gun one of those in a contest, and that's that. And I've seen it actually on the shelf here recently. The RPM.
yeah, and unfortunately, like all ammunition, though, it's already a premium priced ammunition coming from Weatherby to buy it, and then of course now it's even more inflated, which makes it difficult. But I was actually looking at the 6.5 by 300 Weatherby, but I couldn't find it in that. I wanted that rifle because
Hmm.
it's just come out. Very few are on the actual market yet, and I wanted to get it to review, before everybody else. And I bought it. I didn't have any special connection or anything like that, even though I live in the same town as them. But so I basically picked up the one I could get, which was that RPM. I was looking really originally at the 6.5 by 300, but of course that thing burns barrels even faster from what I hear. But
Yeah, I've heard some stories about 400 rounds is about the most you get out of a barrel, which match accuracy versus hunting accuracy, is that 0.25 MOA versus zero point 0.8 MOA. You're still
yeah,
good for a little bit, I'm sure, but
yeah,
yeah,
I had a Tikka. I have a Tikka that I basically burned out the barrel, but in reality, it shoots sub MOA still. So it's like,
right.
is it?
And I
It's
got a
not a
ticket
big
I can
deal.
barely get to group and brand new here, so it's like It's
Yeah.
funny. It's funny to me how different rifles just do that. Now, I actually found a load it likes, believe it or not. It's a 270, and it loves the cheap 130 grain power points from Winchester. That's what it shoots the most consistent.
Really. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the
the
best.
6.5, or sorry.
Yeah, the best group I've had from it though was with 100 grain, hand loaded Hornady GMX. So it's like made for like the 6.8 SBC that goes in the
Hmm,
AR-15. I hand loaded them in 270, and 100 grain got me my best group of just under half an inch, and
interesting.
uh, and it loved it. And I'm like, well, geez, it loved it. I mean, I'd hunt caribou with it with no problem, but or deer or something. But once you run into a grizzly bear or moose, even with it being an all copper construction where it's going to penetrate, it's just not got that much, mass to it to penetrate if you run into a grizzly bear or something like that. So it'd be
Right.
fun. It'd be fun hunting caribou with that, but it
Hmm.
still didn't penetrate all that well in my redneck testing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the 6.5 RPMs from the factory, it's available from Weatherby in 140 Hornady interlock, 140 grain Nosler Accubond, and then the 127 Barnes LRX. So those are their offerings.
I displease the crown. I just like this guy's name. I displease the crown. Yep.
That is good.
Good luck to your 7-year-old son. I hope you get it done. Test any 6.8 PRC yet? Nope. I didn't know there was a 6.8 PRC.
I
Let's
didn't either.
I knew there was a 6.8 Western and a 6.8 SPC2. SPC2 that's been around since like 2010 ish, 2011
Yeah.
ish, and it's a good round for what it was designed for. I think it's been surpassed by the 6.5 Grendel, and really the best AR-15 intermediate platform cartridge is that 25-45 Sharps. A lot of people don't want to. It didn't get popular. A bunch of YouTubers got sent, you know, stuff, and I watched it, and it's getting an 80 grainish, 90 grain bullet going 3,000 feet per second. That's pretty good, and it's better than like say the 6 millimeter arc and stuff like that. So, that's that.
Do you
All
see
right.
6.8 Winch or Western out by you at all on the shelves? I've seen it here,
Yes,
but
I've seen plenty of it. Um, One thing up here is like people haven't bought a lot of it yet. Simply because people up here, a lot of people don't like Brownings. Like I hate Brownings. Like I had a Browning that was junk.
I kind of
Um,
agree with you.
and
I'm not a Browning guy.
and I know some people have had good luck with them, and God bless them if they do. And I know some of their like Hell's Canyon and stuff are nice rifles, and people have good stuff. But I had a Bolt Hunter too that my dad bought me as a kind of a graduation gift for high school. I ended up selling it, even though it was a gift from my dad because it sucked so bad.
I
I would
Yeah.
hand load for that rifle, get it to half an inch, and within 100 rounds, the throat erosion was so bad I'd have to redo my stuff. I mean, whoever tightened that barrel nut or something did it on 5:30 on
Mm.
an afternoon. I mean, it was
I
bad.
I
It
have
was,
I know a guy who has a 300 Winchester short mag. I forget which model it is. It's one of their more expensive models. It's not the long range though.
yeah.
And I took it out of the stock to kind of just like going over the gun for him. And it was spot bedded in the front, but it was spot bedded crooked, so the barrel was smashed against one side of the fore end of the stock, the barrel channel, and the trigger we couldn't get to adjust the way it was advertised to adjust at all, not even remotely. And I was just like, not a good impression, and we couldn't. It's not that accurate of a gun, really. So
No.
that one of many experiences where I'm like, I'm not really a Browning fan. I mean, I'm sure they make some good stuff, but I just
Mhm. Yeah. No. They have some quality control issues. They're the Taurus of rifles.
mm,
Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry, Taurus fans. All right.
I uh,
All the poors are gonna get me. Of course, I'm not that rich, so. But
I
anyway.
have a Taurus 709 Slim that I actually love, and then I have a Taurus. It's a 380. I forget which one it is, but which model, and I hate it. I mean, it functions, but it's a nightmare in every other way. Like it, I'm
Hmm.
not. Yeah,
Why is all the 4570 I buy looking like crap? Remington and Federal Fusion. I bought some Remington. I killed my largest whitetail deer when I lived in Georgia with 4570 cheap Remington 305 grain. I had a single shot, and it's wasn't a huge deer, but it was a 137. He scored almost 140, 10 point, which is, a respectable deer anywhere you go. Field dressed 160 pounds without the guts, field dressed. So not for the South, that's pretty good. I mean, it's not an Iowa buck field dress, but um, so
It's a
it's
good
not.
deer.
It's a good deer. It's respectable. His G3 tine, right? He has these short tines. He has a 17-inch inside spread. His G3 tine is like on this. His left side is like shoop goes up to like hit. He's got these nice little short tines with the 17-inch spread, and then his G3 tine is just like on
Huh.
one side. It's like I measured it was like 11 3/4 inches on just that G3 tine. Um,
Yeah.
so it
I
was
have
like
I have one that has like one side's really big and then one side's really small, but it's got a point parallel to a point. I wish I had it in my hand so I'd show you. It has like instead of like, like this, it's like this. It's got points like that, which is kind of cool, but it's just a really weird buck.
the weirder the rack, the better. And this guy, Guns in Water, man, don't crap on Federal Fusion. Federal Fusion's really good ammo, in my opinion. If it shoots accurately out of your gun, it's going to expand out to 300 or 400 yards. It's bonded. It's going to stay together. There's a reason why it was number 5 in my top 5 bullets for big game hunting. Yeah, like I would take the Federal Fusion against anything in North America. Would I prefer hard cast for grizzly bear out of 4570? Absolutely, yes. All right, and I've stocked up on hard cast, but um, is what it is. So, you like any Federal Fusion? Have you tried some ammo there,
Uh,
Steven?
yeah, it's been a long time, but when I first got into hunting, I used it on some elk in 308, I believe. It's been a while, and then I used it in a 30-06 as well. I think you're right. I think ballistic, like terminal performance, I think is good. It's just that, you know, like if from a long range standpoint, which really isn't necessarily hunting, or it probably isn't as good at the me plat and stuff is kind of deformed on them, like the nose, the tip.
Hmm.
Um, but if it shoots good out of your rifle, it's great. Yeah, terminally, it's a good bullet. I would
Yeah,
agree with that. And I used it in obviously factory offerings, but
yeah. Somebody is supposedly sending me some 175 grain fusions to load in 7 millimeter rim mag. So I'm gonna try that. That's gonna be a fun a fun thing. If they're good and accurate, I might order more. But he wanted to send them to me after that after one of those videos. So that's that.
uh,
Um, that's that. All
well,
right.
what
Hello, Philip.
what's
How's it
your
going? All right, Rude Dog. Sorry, it's taking. Good.
what's your take on the Remington core lock as far as ballistic performance?
Um, as far as ballistic performance on like whitetail and black bear and that size game, and even up to caribou, use it if it's what you got and what you can find right now. Like it's not that bad. Here's my issue with it. When I did a 25-06 versus 270 versus 30-06 video with 150, 130, and 120 grain uh, in the 25-06, right? Remington core lock. And the 25-06 and the 30-06 performed as expected, but the
Hmm.
270 130 grain failed,
Hmm.
and it failed. Not only did it fail and jacket separate like Corlock's not supposed to do,
Hmm.
it actually failed its numbers. Like 130 grain 270 should be pressed minimum of 3050 even out of a 20-inch barrel, 22-inch
Hmm.
barrel. You should hit that 3000 mark with a 22-inch barrel, and you should really be getting close to, if not over, 31. And I've like with Hornady Super Performance GMX, I've gotten almost 32 uh, average out of that same rifle, right? This
Hmm.
was down in the 28s, low 28s, if I remember
With no
correctly.
muzzle brake
And
or anything
so
on the.
not only was it down in no muzzle brake on the end, just a
Hmm.
22-inch barrel Tikka. Um, and the worst part of it was standard deviations were horrible. So if you
Hmm.
were shooting beyond 400 yards, you could miss in theory just because a bullet was going 60 or 90 feet per second faster or slower than what your average was.
Hmm.
So, really, when you get beyond 400 yards, if you have a 90 feet per second difference between your extreme
Yeah,
spread there,
way too much.
you you
Yeah.
could miss. So that yeah. So would I use it for Alaska? No. If you're sitting on a deer stand in Georgia and or like Alabama, and it's all you can find on the shelves, and you're only going to shoot 50 yards, yeah, go for it. It's going to do its job most of the time. All right. Rude Dog has a question here. I know this is out of your wheelhouse, but is 460 Roland reliable enough for a bare sidearm? And my answer is, if you've shot yours and it's reliable enough, yes. They do have a lot of reliability issues, and a lot of guns that you buy a kit and then add the kit to don't seem to work real well. The exception being the Springfield XTM. Like, I've known a few people that have a Springfield XDM, and it ran with the 460 rolling. And even some Glocks sometimes have trouble, and sometimes they don't. 1911s can be very picky with it. My recommendation is go to Roland, go to the actual Roland company, and they sell the kits, the actual authentic Roland kits. They seem to work the best. And then I would also say, go to go to their site, and they sell full guns in Roland, in their 460 Roland with the kits already there. They're expensive. They're charging an arm and a leg for them, but if that's what you want to do, but yeah, 460 Roland should get you 100 foot-pounds more than 10 millimeter, maybe 150 to 200 depending on the load, but probably just about 100 more than 10 millimeter, same barrel length and stuff. I know Michael Kaler's FNX that I did a video on a few weeks ago with the 120 grain Lehigh Extreme Defenders that my buddy hand loaded in 460 Roland. I know they did that, so yeah, that should be good if you test it and stuff. I knew it took a while for my 45 Super to get all the right parts to get it run reliably. The biggest issue is going to be your magazine. You need good Roland magazine springs. Go ahead and buy the Roland magazine springs for sure. Otherwise, you have a magazine that's too weak to get around up into a slide spring that's moving faster, and it's not going to time right. So that's the issue. Ballistic coefficient values at Mach 1.75, 1954 feet per second. Standard atmosphere should be used when calculating trajectories for shooting beyond 600 yards. Is that really the case universally? No, because if you live at higher or lower elevation, you're going to have different pressures and different barometric pressures. So it's probably a good starting place. What do you think about that, Steven?
I don't know. I really don't.
To be honest with you, I look at my drop chart, I look at what it says, and then I go from there. I got to put up a big silhouette man-sized target. I go from there. So if I'm shooting beyond 600 yards, I hadn't done that in forever. I don't think I've done that since I moved to Alaska.
I use Strelock Pro once I get out that far, and I start going off of what they tell me. If I'm
okay, Brent338 just making a question here. I don't know what he's talking about. They claim the accuracy of the case has more potential than the PRC. So I guess they're talking about the Weatherby 65 RPM.
That's what research and what reports say. If you're using it like in a competition or something like that for long range or ELR shooting, then you might have a slight advantage. But in everyday use for the average Joe, it's kind of negligible, probably.
Although I shot my 6.5 PRC for the first time this weekend, and it sucked.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I got part of the grouping was me, and I was only getting about an inch and a half. It was also between -2 and 7 the whole time I was at the range going in and out.
Yeah.
So I was shaking kind of bad. I was also just finishing breaking in the barrel. So I only did about 10. It was so cold, I only did about 10 rounds of cleaning and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I would group and clean. That's normally how I just break in a barrel. 10 rounds of actual clean and shoot, and then group and clean 3 rounds, group and clean 3 rounds. Then once I get up to about 20, 25 rounds, I call it done.
Yep.
And then
That's
usually
pretty similar.
Usually you can see those groups tighten up too when you do those 3 rounds groups too. And I just didn't.
I had a Howa TSPX. It's a chassis rifle, and I was using 6.5 PRC ELDM ammunition last year, and it shot great out of that rifle. I shot out to, it was literally a 20 to 30 mile an hour variable wind. It's the worst wind I've ever actually shot in, was that day. But I happened to be at a range that went beyond, like it was 2 hours away, and it was the only opportunity I had. So I was able to get it to 1650, I want to say 1600 or 1650. It was, I don't know what the average hit was on that. It was a lot of shots per hit. I'm not, a lot of misses. At 1450, it did really good, even in the wind, even with that factory ammunition. But yeah, it was one of those things. Drove 2 hours to shoot, and then it was horrible wind. But
yeah, stinks. Yeah. So, let's see. Oh well. VASF Tech. I don't know what this is talking about. Sorry,
I
Linda.
don't know.
Remington crimps go from barely there to crushing. Yeah, Remington federal cases all spotted in brown. Yep, sorry about that. Yeah, Remington has quality control issues. I've seen different primers in the same box of Remington core lock ammunition. Different colored primers, you can tell. I'm trying to look and see if I have a box of Remington core lock sitting by here, but I think I don't have one. So, but I've actually seen different colored primers in the same box. Remington. So, okay. All right. Okie Precision was talking about 6.8 SPC. So, no, I haven't played with one on the channel. I don't like, it would be cool to do a video with the 6.8 SPC2 versus the 6mm arc versus the 6.5 or excuse me, versus the 25-45 sharps versus the 6mm arc versus the 6.5 Grindle. It'd be cool to do all those versus 300 blackout supers in one, and see what is the really biggest best AR intermediate cartridge besides 5.56. But I think it's a mute point, so is what it is. Okie Precision says Browning the sticker butt company. What's up, Texas Beast? Hope you're doing well. My Browning BLR 308 and 338 are very accurate. They actually put a better barrel on the BLRs when they were making the A-Bolt 2s. So back when they had the A-Bolt 2s, they actually have better barrels on the BLRs. I've been told by a lot of people.
I've heard that those shot better too, but I don't know. I've never had either one of those.
I've heard the BLRs shoot a lot better than the Henry Long Ranger right now. I've only heard the Henry Long Ranger gets to about an inch and a half or something like that, but is what it is. So I don't know, but I would love a BLR 338 here in Bear Country. That would be an excellent Bear Country defense rifle.
It'd be a cool, fun gun for sure.
I almost bought one in 7mm rim mag, but I decided to buy my SIG P239 9mm instead, and I let my ex-wife keep that gun. I don't know why. The gun was more faithful than my ex-wife. I say that out loud. Anyway, my new wife's light years better. Excuse me, megaparsecs better for all you science fiction nerds out there. Actually, megaparsecs is a real term, so not science fiction. All you science nerds out there. But that's that. Got to put a belt on my winter truck. Getting close to having a street legal 94 F-150 sitting on 37s. That's kind of cool. It's kind of cool having a low count mileage classic. Never thought I'd say that 10 years ago. Yeah, 94 is now a classic. There you go.
Oh, geez. My first truck, I think, was a 92.
You know, my first car was an 89, 87 Chevrolet Cavalier, 86. What have y'all taken so far this season? Man, I've taken a grouse, 2 ducks, and a squirrel. That's it. I have had a bad hunting season. COVID hit me during my caribou hunt, so I couldn't do anything about it.
For this year, I got a spring bear. I got I guess I killed 3 deer, 3 antelope, and what else did and about 4 turkeys this year, I think.
Yeah, I got to come down there and hunt antelope with you. So
You do. It's awesome. Elk hunting was the worst. This was the worst elk. I didn't get an elk. It was the worst elk season I've had ever. Super dry, super hot. But I did go on a buddy's hunt, and that video comes out this Saturday on my channel. I went out and I was deer hunting, and this guy was letting me stay at his house that I'm friends with, and he said, well, my deer hunting was going horrible, and he's like, just why don't you come deer hunting or elk hunting with me? I drew a good unit, and so I was like, okay. So it was almost like a foothills or sub desert type terrain. It wasn't really mountain hunting per se. And
mhm.
we did a spur of the moment, like random, got out at like 3 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon, drove out, drove straight literally into elk, stopped, get out, and we're surrounded by elk. And he got a 6x6. Well, it was broke off, so it ended up being a 6.55, but it was a really mature heavy bull at 15 yards. So I have a video coming out on that, and it was a good experience. It was crazy. They were bugling all around us. They were just surrounding us. It was nuts. But my elk hunting didn't go so well this year personally, but
Yeah, could see that being a problem. But yeah, I've heard in Wyoming there's a good late season tag for cows that I should apply. I should try to get and come down there and just get a cow tag.
cow
Um,
tags are definitely a lot cheaper. I mean, antelope, I can't remember if it's the same for elk, but I know for antelope, a non-resident doe antelope tag or doe fawn tag, it's the same thing, is actually like I think the same price as a resident. It's like 21 bucks. So it's super affordable. So like when people come from out of state, I'm like, try to get a buck tag, or it's really a type one, it's an any tag. And then try to get two doe fawn antelope tags so that you might as make the trip worth it and get as much meat as you can and have as much fun. And some people just come for the does because it's so cheap. I mean, for a non-resident. And I've never not filled my antelope tag in the first, or all of my antelope tags in the first day. We got 4 in one day this year and 4 in one day last year with between me and my wife. And it's just a fun, awesome hunt. And it's the best state there is probably for antelope is Wyoming, I would say.
so when I drove to Alaska, that's the first time I've really driven a long ways west of the Mississippi River, right? And so when we drove to Seattle and put my truck on a boat and got on a plane and came to Alaska, right? And basically, when we drove through, we saw over 500 antelope just along what it was, Interstate 80. Um,
Probably 80.
yeah, just along that in Wyoming. So
There's actually, or there used to be in recent history, if not now, there's more antelope than there is people. There's only about 500-ish people, and there's over 500,000. I mean, 500,000 people, and there's over 500,000 antelope. It's just an awesome hunt, and it's great to do with family and kids too because you can road hunt. I mean, it sounds, but you can just drive like gravel roads and whatnot or four wheel and you just get off and you spot and glass and it's kind of like shopping. I mean, this year was tougher because we've been in a really hot drought for 2 years.
mhm,
So it's affecting things. And we have had increased hunting pressure. COVID seemed to actually increase that for whatever reason,
makes sense.
um, but it's an awesome hunt and it's so much fun. And if you take care of the meat, from the time you kill it to the time you eat it and you know even a little bit how to cook it, it's actually my favorite big game animal. I actually prefer the backstrap from that over elk, and most people would say I'm crazy. Antelope has kind of a bad reputation as far as the meat, but it's
Right,
because
I've heard that.
people kill them and then they hang them with the hide on, or they let them sit in their pickup truck all year. And normally the seasons are earlier in the year, so it's like still like 80 degrees, sometimes
Mhm,
90. So
yeah,
it's just a very sensitive meat. So you have to make sure. And what I do is I skin and quarter it and put it on ice within less than an hour of killing it. So
yeah,
I quarter it in the field, put it on ice in the truck, and it's amazing meat.
yeah. I've heard both things. I've heard antelope's bad. Then I hear if you take care of the meat, it's good. Yeah, and if it's
Yeah.
warm, I mean, meat spoils if it's warm. And honestly, like we'd be doing the same thing in caribou country. I've had it be 30 degrees at night and almost 85 in the day.
Hmm.
And like if you got one during that 85 period, you better put it in meat bags and then tie those meat bags in
Hmm.
garbage bags and go stick the waterproof garbage bags in the stream. Like if
Right.
you're still out there hunting, because
Yeah.
you got to keep the meat cool, otherwise it's going to spoil.
Yeah.
Where you're at.
It's just it's just a meat that doesn't do well if it's left to its own, and people either love it or hate it, but if you hate it, it's because it wasn't taken care of 99% of the time. I mean, you're not taking care of it. People, like I said, Eastern hunters, especially, I mean, I'm originally from Michigan, and what do? You shoot a whitetail in November, you hang it in your garage for a week, and then you finally get around to cutting it up. You can't do that with an antelope or it's going to taste horrible. But they smell like Fritos. So if you ever kill one, smell the hide. It'll smell like Fritos almost. It's kind of weird. But
That's the first thing. Okay, well, I'm coming down there next year because I got to get something with the 6.5 by 284, and if I don't get a caribou, uh, so well, my whole goal is I've killed a big game animal, including whitetail deer in Georgia, with 9 different calibers. I'm trying to get to 10.
wow.
And so my choices here that are here with me are 7mm 08 and 6.5 by 284. And so I've figured my 6.5 by 284 is actually the most accurate rifle I own. It even outshoots my Bergara 6.5 Creedmoor.
Oh, nice.
And it's just a cheap old Savage 111, And so I'm thinking, well, it's the most accurate rifle. But I have taken the 7mm 08 with some 120 grain barns, like black bear hunting and stuff like that. And I can actually black bear hunt across the street from my house a little bit. So
Nice.
hopefully I'll get something this spring. Get out there more.
Yeah, taking the black bear I took was probably one of the pinnacle moments of my, I hate calling it, I guess, a hunting career in a sense, but it was a big moment. It was as bigger moment than my first, decent sized bull elk. It was a huge thing to me. I tried for a lot of years and was maybe I just suck, but I struggled for years trying to get one, and I finally got one. It turned out it was almost Boone and Crockett. In fact, when I
Yeah,
get the
it was a
skull
good
back,
bear.
yeah, it was. So I think the minimum Boone and Crockett, like 3 years, what they call it, the 3-year entry. It's silly. I've never registered anything, but it's like 20 inches. And it was 19 and like 17/18 or something like that on a rough measurement. So I might remeasure it. I still actually haven't got the skull or the hide back yet. It's been at a taxidermist forever, but
Mhm.
it was, I would have been happy with a tiny bear.
Yeah,
But it was nice that it was big and it
yeah.
tasted good too.
That one's probably almost as big as my grizzly bear. It's like mine was a 6 foot, like 350 pound grizzly bear. It's an interior grizzly where they don't get salmon. There was no salmon in the stream,
Mm,
so they don't get the huge. They still get big, but and it's still a yearling, but they don't get that 1,500 pound grizzly bear. They might get
really.
1,700 pounds max in there, and they might get 7 feet in where I was hunting. There are also a crap ton of them in there, to the point where a resident doesn't even need a tag to go hunt them in there. So
I would love to shoot a grizz. It's just unfortunate, with the laws there, I have to have a guide or a first relative. Is it first blood relative?
he's a first blood relative,
I
and you
think.
don't look enough like me. Sorry that I got a bigger nose. So
I just, it's so expensive to pay for a guide, but man, I would one of these days I got to get a grizz.
yeah, I would get my guiding license just so my friends could come do that. But then, I mean, I have to pay for that yearly, just like a hunting license. And so at that point, it's like it's expensive enough to where, yeah, you would have to pay me something.
Yeah.
And and I'm not that good of a guide to go, so that's is what it is.
Cross timber
All
33.
you need is rifle. Spend more time with the bow. Yeah, there are a lot of places down south where if you get a shot over 50 yards, you're lucky. That's a long shot. 270 Winchester 130 grain has always been lethal for me. Way more impressive than 150 grain, and this is on live targets. Yeah, I actually agree. 130 grain is more impressive to get. If you get a bullet that stays together, there you go. Um, is what it is. Luke B is giving Mr. F and H a hard time. Just go 10mm. I agree. Go 10mm. A Wilson Combat Hunter is stock with laser grip for 460 rolling. There you go. I like your channel though, and I know you have done your homework. You are the reason I use pure gold dots in a shorter barrel 45 ACP. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. Masky. Yep. Yeah. The 200 grain plus piece square gold dots in my Glock 30 are probably my favorite load. Um, I can't get a lot of them right now, so I've actually been carrying. Because I shot a lot of them up for the videos. I actually been carrying a mix, which I know you shouldn't mix your carry ammo, but I've been carrying a mix just because that's what have. A lot of people give me crap about that. So all right, let's see. What's up? Lever Guns 50, great channel if you haven't checked him out. You want to see some cool lever guns in like 50, 110, stuff like that. Sharps, 4590 sharps and stuff like that.
I don't
Um,
think I've ever seen his. I only have one lever gun right now, but I would like more.
yeah, yeah, me too. Um, you can get a 13 round magazine for a BLR in 308. Now that's cool.
Wow.
That is cool. Marshall DeVue, what's up? He decided to join us from Austerlitz. There you go. All right. It's back in the barn again. There you go. Change belt and holes is cool. Send me a picture when you're done, man.
It'll be interesting to see how this. I got the Christensen Ridgeline in 300 PRC, and it'll be interesting to see how that does compared to. I have a Bergara 300 PRC,
Hmm.
a Howa 300 PRC, and then
Nice.
it'll be interesting to see how that. It's a very similar rifle, and it's similar in its purpose and design to the Weatherby I just got, the backcountry. So it'll be interesting to see how those compare, being that the Christensen is significantly cheaper. Um, you can actually get the titanium version even cheaper than the Weatherby. So it'll be interesting to see
Wow.
if it's a good buy. And then the Seiko S20 I got, I've never had a Seiko, so that'll be interesting as well.
Yeah, look forward to it. Marshall DeVue, best caliber for Antelope.
I This comes from a person who's using factory ammunition. So in firsthand experience, my favorite is 6.5 Creedmoor. I've had great luck with it. It's done great on Antelope. You could go 6mm Creedmoor 243, but I have a lot of 6.5 Creedmoors, and it seems to be perfect for Antelope. It just drops them. It's just a good mix for them. And usually you're making shots over 200 yards on Antelope out here, and potentially further as well. So you want some that shoots, easy and accurate.
Okay. Well, I'm coming down to shoot Antelope next year. Are the seasons like November or are they like August?
So it's all broken up into units. And the earliest they start, I think, is August 1st, but I think that's mostly archery. I think that they have rifle units that open August 15th at the earliest, possibly. I generally hunt them, and where I'd probably recommend you'd go would actually start a September, or wait, October 1st is a lot of the good units. September 15th, some of them open rifle. So
Hmm.
some of them go really late in the year though. They'll go through November even. It's broken up into units, so it depends on what unit you're in.
Yeah. So being a school teacher, like I would need to go when I can have a 3 or 4 day weekend. Like I would need to leave Thanksgiving afternoon and show up and then have my Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know what I mean? In order to get 2 days or 3 days, 2.5 days of hunting in, and then fly back. So
Yeah, I mean, you could get it done, and I mean, if you're coming all the way out, you want to have enough time for something to go wrong, and you still get one.
right.
So yeah, at least a couple days, and if you most units, you're still going to need one preference point. Is how they use a preference point system here, so you'd want to buy one like this year for next year. Unless
Yeah.
you're going Dauphin, you can get without any preference points, but for the Type 1 to get a buck, depending on the unit, you need preference points. Of course, they have what they call preference points draw, then they have random draw, and then they have preference points special draw, which is basically you pay double the price and you have double the odds with less preference points, but it's all made for making money. But
Sounds like it, yeah. The Alaska one's the same way. So I put in for the DC 485, which is our unit 13, which is right above us. Um, and well, right above, it's about 2 hours above us, and 2 hours north and an hour and a half east. And that's where
uh,
I've gotten all my caribou. But in the past, I've put in for, we were talking about this, I put in for just the subsistence hunt.
mm,
Which basically means you have to hunt in unit 13 for moose or caribou, and this one is the non-subsistent tag, and so I
mm,
can hunt anywhere in the state for moose or
mm.
caribou. Um, and then I also put in for the cow moose tag that lasts about the whole month of October.
Oh,
So
nice.
hoping I get that as well. And hoping that'll be um, good too. So
Yeah. You definitely have a lot more opportunity to get more tags, cheaper tags, or have longer seasons than we do in Wyoming for sure, it sounds like, which is nice.
yeah, yeah, we have a lot of seasons. There are places where caribou can literally goes all year. Like
It's
if you
crazy.
really wanted to hunt it, but but some of those places have negative 60-degree temperatures all the time in the winter too. So
Huh.
like you have to be, yeah, it goes all year, but I'm not going out
Uh,
in that, you know.
yeah.
Um, But, honestly, hunting in the winter here, man, you throw on snowshoes and you can walk across all these bogs and
Really.
all these lakes and stuff, and so you
Hmm.
get these opportunities to get to places you could not get without a boat or
Huh.
without a pack raft or without waders and stuff like that.
Do
Like last year, I killed my caribou right on top of a frozen lake, you know, because they love
hmm.
walking on top of those things because they can see wolves and stuff coming.
Can
They
you use snowmobiles out there? Or is
Oh,
it
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Hmm.
There are motorized zones and non-motorized zones. You
Mm.
gotta obey that. But in fact, we were in a motorized zone. We got there before anybody with the snow machine. We call them snow machines up here for some reason.
Mhm.
Pulled up, and I literally had one on the ground before the first snow machine got out of the truck, and you heard it. So it was kind of cool. Like I had hunted in Northern Unit 13 off the Denali Highway 3 weekends in August and hiked probably a total hike in and out of 30 miles, and I have sore leg issues, so like that
Yeah.
maybe 25 miles. Um, and no, one hike is 3 miles in and 3 miles out. Actually, I floated out on that one,
Huh.
and then another one we went about 2.5, 3 miles in off the highway and came out, and another one I went 8 miles in and came out.
Wow.
Um, and that one I kind of did a hike bike pack
Yeah.
wrap all in one type thing. But and that was off the Denali Highway in a non-motorized zone,
Hmm.
and I did not see the first caribou in the August hunt.
Hmm.
And I noticed the last several years they split it into an August September hunt. My first 2 years it was just August through September, and then they
Uh,
split it into one hunt for August and one hunt for September.
hmm.
And what I've noticed is like the herd comes down out of Canada when they migrate and comes to the middle of this unit, which is the size of West Virginia, and everybody goes towards the middle and breaks them up. Well, with
Hmm.
there being less hunters, they don't get broken up as much, and so they
Mm.
don't go into these small groups all over. So I haven't been seeing them where I am.
Mhm.
And everybody has been telling me, and I've from my own experience, from my wife getting one on the second hunt, and from us seeing a whole bunch while we were moose hunting during the second hunt during September. Like it really is better in that Unit 13 in that second hunt in September.
Hmm.
So that's the one I applied for last year,
Mhm.
and then we got COVID, and
Mm.
yeah, so that one was really it was pretty bad. Seen a
Yeah.
lot of caribou in your hunting area this year, Chuck. Oh, good. I'm hoping you got some, Kellen. Um, uh, it was um, it was pretty interesting, and that Unit 13. Well, my buddy convinced me to. We need both of us had tags, and he goes, "Well, let's go in November and snowshoe." And I'm like, "Well, the problem with going off the Denali Highway is like both sides of the highway you can't hunt for a few miles in, but they
Is
don't plow.
it
They
is
don't
it
plow
2
it either." So
is it
uh,
2.5 on each side? 2.5 miles on each side, or is it 5 miles on each side? I've heard, like,
no,
differing.
the Denali Highway you can hunt right off the road.
Oh, okay. I'm getting this
Dalton
mixed up
Highway,
with Dalton. Okay. Alright.
The Dalton Highway is
Ah,
5 miles, but the
okay.
Denali Highway they don't plow.
Mm.
But the first few miles of it on each side.
Mm.
And so unless you have a snow machine, you can't get deep off into the Denali Highway.
Mm.
And so we decided to go up to Eureka, which is in the south side where all the motorized machines are, 2 hours from Anchorage, an hour and a half from my house. And bam, we had one on the ground in 15 minutes. I was like, what the crap is
Nice.
this?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
Somebody said
So
257 Weatherby was good for antelope. Is that what they're saying?
that's what
I
they're
agree.
saying.
That would be. I've shot one. It would probably be perfect. It'd probably do great. Really flat
Yeah,
shooting.
yeah, I bet that would be great. And we were talking about the 257 Weatherby last week on the chat. I think it would be good if you got a solid copper bullet in that 50 to 60 grain range, you might be able to pierce some body armor with that, going about 3,800 with that speed. Um, you might be able to go through level 3. I know it go through level 3. Level 4, I'm not so sure. We were talking about that last week. That'd be kind of interesting. I like taking odd calibers like that for that. 130 grain or 180 grain TTSX for deer and a 30-06. The only bullet weights in stock right now. Are the only bullet weights in stock? Yeah. I've seen the 130 grain TTSX all over the place up here, and it wouldn't be a bad thing for like caribou. Like I'd certainly take it. I mean, in 30-06, 308. So definitely do that. 224 Valkyrie, my 85 grain Nosler hand load shoot .4 in my Wilson Combat. I
Nice.
don't advocate this, but 85 still put over 500 foot-pounds at 750 yards. Own 3 box and all are sub MOA. There you go. 224 Valkyrie would not be a bad antelope caliber if it's legal.
I think it is for antelope. I'd have to double check again. I think it is for antelope. Yeah, it would be because 223 is for antelope here. So,
yeah, okay.
yeah, I wouldn't shoot them out at that distance. I try to stay at least over 800 foot-pounds, like within that range. If I like 1,000 or 12 even better. But
sure.
Antelope aren't really hard to penetrate. They're pretty easy to. A bullet penetrates them very easily. But and shot placement is paramount, obviously. But yeah, antelope aren't hard to like recover or kill. Really, they're one of the easier animals out there for sure.
Mm-hmm. We've built a few 25 SST Sherman short tactical 18-inch barrels pushing 135 grain bullets at 2950 feet per second. Very light and accurate short recoiling round, short action round. Cool. Is that like an intermediate round for AR-15s? Because it sounds more like a AR-10 type round for me. If you're saying short action, I consider like 223 and 7.62 by 39 intermediate. Then you have short. Then you have like 270 30-06 for with some oddballs in between for like long action. Then you have like magnum action, right? So that's that. Cool. All right. Kellen Olson, are you one of the people I told you where I can hunt caribou? Don't say it out loud. Don't say it out loud. So, yeah, I was actually driving up to hunt caribou, and I was just coughing too bad I was over and through my COVID, but I was still coughing too bad. I was just like, no, I'm gonna turn around. It's cold. It's wet. It's rainy. The best I'm gonna do is like pack raft across this lake and hike a mile maybe into the woods and hope to get one in a day. Nope, not doing it. No, if I got one, gosh, then I'm gonna have to carry all that meat out and leapfrog all my stuff. 150 pounds of meat. Put some on my back,
Yeah.
take it, leave it, go back and leapfrog frog through the deep woods with people all around me. Nope, not a good idea. So I'm just like, nope.
Just picked up an MP10.
MMP 10 millimeter. Nice. I want one. Do I think the M&P is as reliable a gun as the Glock overall? No. But do I think it's a reliable enough gun? Yes. Once I sent my 5-inch 9mm back, then it's been reliable since.
Sauer 100 versus Tikka T3X and 650. Any opinions? Oh, that's a good one. I've never owned this Sauer 100. I have a Tikka T3X and 6.5 Creedmoor. I've played with a Sauer 100, but I've never shot one, so it's a little difficult for me to give an opinion on that. I would maybe lean Tikka, but I don't know. What do you think?
I'm gonna go Sauer just because I hate Tikkas. But like I said, I've owned 2 Tikkas. One was a 300 Win Mag, and this one is a 270. I couldn't get either one to group with a couple different boxes of ammo. Very picky. Now my cameraman has a 30-06 Tikka, and it groups like 3/4 of an inch to an inch with everything in it, everything you could possibly buy. We hand loaded ammo just to fit his gun. 3/4 of an inch to an inch,
Hmm.
everything you bought. The
Huh.
same thing with the hand
I've
loads. Stuff,
yeah,
so
I've shot like truly one hole groups, 3-shot groups with factory ammo with a Tikka before, but I guess like any mass produced factory gun, there's
hmm
like not a company out there that doesn't have lemons. I like how everybody knows this, right? They give me crap for it. But one of the reasons I like how is because I've had tons of hows and I've shot tons of hows and I've never had one. And I know people have, but I've never had one that wasn't capable of sub MOA with factory ammo easily. And
sure,
I their quality control, I think, is far and above the average in the industry. And I think that's what sets them apart. But I'm not necessarily a brand loyalist. I probably am a little bit with Howl, but I think that like, and you have different models, right? So like, especially when it comes to scopes, I've said this before. Like, I have videos on certain Vortex scopes where I literally get told that you must be sponsored, you're paid off, blah blah blah, piece of crap, whatever. And then like a week later, I'll do a video on another Vortex that I don't like, and then they'll be like, "Well, you just hate Vortex," and it's so funny because like most companies have models that are really good, whether that's guns or optics, and then they have models that aren't good. So
right,
it's more like I want to be loyal to what's good, not the name per se.
sure,
Some there are some brands that have maybe on average more consistent products, but like Bergara, you love your Bergara from what I can understand, and I have one now that shoots awesome. My first one was the worst problem gun I've ever had in my life, and all I can figure is when they started really busting into the U.S. market, their QC somewhere was failing, I think, at that
sure.
time. But it's improved. I think their QC has definitely improved, and now you don't have those problems as much. Because I'm not the only one. I've met some other people, and it's like I think they've improved that. But anything mass produced, unless it's custom and it's tested, like they've literally tested that rifle, you're gonna have guns that aren't good. You're just gonna have lemons.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with that. And I firmly believe, like my Tika 270 is not a lemon. It just took me a while to find what it likes to shoot, right?
Mhm.
Um, if it only likes the lighter grain bullets, like the 100 grain GMX for that real half-inch groups, or like I've got some 95 grain loaded. Here they are to load for the 6.8 SPC2, but I'm going to load them in 270. Like if it loves that at 3,500 feet per second, if it loves the 110 grain barns that I have, if it starts loving all those light bullets, but I can't get 130s to shoot well, yeah, the Tika's getting sold. Like I mean, let's just be honest. Like
Yeah.
it's getting sold.
Yeah.
Um, and it looks like it is what it is.
I was
With that,
laughing at
but, but
High
it
Desert
shoots
Hunter.
well. Yeah, it still shoots well. So like, I'm not calling it a lemon. My 300 Win
Right.
Mag was a lemon. I sold that to a guy from Nome. I hope he doesn't hate me.
And
That's it.
yeah.
All right, Bernabe Sanchez, do you still have stamina issues after COVID? Some days, yes, yes. There are days where you still feel like this, and you got to make sure you take your aspirin every day and vitamin D every day. Like it's like COVID is actually like like I know a lot of us conservatives are like it's fake, it wasn't a real plan, it was a pandemic. Yeah, and it might be those things, but it's still a real disease out there. And so like you need to take care of yourself even after you're over it. So
Yeah.
forth.
I had it first. I had it really mild, but I know people that had it worse. It's not fake. It's just I didn't believe in the infringement of rights
Agreed. Oh no.
as a
Like
result of it. But
I don't think the government should be allowed to um shut down a private business for a disease. Like that
mm,
should not be able to happen. um,
right.
period. Government can shut down what it does. Government can shut down airports because they can essentially control the airports. It can shut down bus stops and stuff like that. But it actually shut down the private air company if the company wanted to land its plane in the middle of a field somewhere? Absolutely not. You know, can it shut down like your local Walmart or stuff like that? Can it make recommendations and then like give tax breaks to those companies that are following the recommendations? There's an idea nobody tried. Uh, hmm. Oh, Walmart's handing out masks and has hand sanitizer available and someone wiping down all the carts. Walmart, you guys get a tax break. Oh, gee, thanks, government. We'll make sure we do more of it. I mean, come on
Uh,
now. Like that's the thing. It is what it is for me. So,
all right.
um, yeah. All
I
right.
see.
High Desert Hunter here. Teaching 6.5 Creepsmore 7mm rim mag or 300 WSM. Good choices. Good choices. Marshall DeVue, he's back from Jena Austerlitz here. He says, "What caliber do you use for elk?"
I've used 308, 300, 6.5 Creedmoor, and 300 PRC so far. Yeah, 6.5 Creedmoor. So I've used that on elk, but I've kind of started to go away from it. So that's one of those things, right? Where admittedly you're like a newer into it, and you're like, man, the Creedmoor is really good. It shoots great. I'm gonna use it on elk. And part of it's I used 143 ELDX, which I know you're not a fan of. I've had mixed results with that on elk, so I've kind of gotten away from that. I shot an elk and it jumped a fence onto a private ranch. I watched it die, and the rancher would not let me retrieve it. And that basically is what made me go, okay, I want something that's more forgiving when I screw up, because I'm a human and I'm gonna screw up shot placement. It's just gonna happen, and that's what happened there. Like, was it a dead elk and it died pretty quickly? Yeah, but it was able to make it further than I wanted and died, and I couldn't retrieve it. And so I put in 30 days of hunting that year. Huh?
Isn't that illegal?
No,
Don't.
I called Game and Fish, and in Wyoming they have the right to not let you retrieve. So, and that was my 30th day of elk hunting, and it was like in a blizzard. So it's like, you're like, if I'm going to put all this money and time into something, I want something that's going to be a little bit, there's less of a chance of it getting that far, even if I make a mistake. So that's when I started going more to the 300 PRC, which it's inherently a little harder to shoot accurately just because it's a big boy and it kicks a lot. But I've seen great results with that, dropping them in their place and stuff. The 308, I was using Corlocks, and man, it was only, I can't remember how many grains it was, but anyway, that did a good job as well. A lot of really like Randy Newberg uses 308. He uses Barnes, I believe, Barnes bullets, and he's a big user of 308, and he will not use 6.5 Creedmoor. He likes the, as he says in layman's terms, like, the size of the bullet. You can get a little bit heavier, bigger hole, essentially, so to speak. I think 308's a good choice. I still would lean towards magnums for elk, because it's not just like, yeah, well, the other stuff killed them, yes, but if you are spending 30 days and thousands of dollars hunting elk, even on your own on public land, let's say you're at 11,000 feet and you shoot one and it's in an opening and the forest is 30 yards away, you want to have something that's going to anchor that thing, and you're going to want to have that extra insurance, because you just don't want, and you want to have something that's going to leave you a good blood trail too, just in case. But you want something that's going to be, it's better to have overkill with elk than underkill with elk.
Absolutely. 7mm rim mag would be considered maybe like the lightest cartridge you think you should use, or
I like it. Maybe I'm overemphasizing it. Like, I'm not going to say you can't use 308 Winchester. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, the more you realize, the more situations you get into where you're like, you know what, I want to eliminate every factor I can and have the best chance, even if I make a mistake, then you start looking in those magnums. 7mm would be great. People shoot them and kill them with 6mm Creedmoor 243. The lightest I would basically go is 6.5 Creedmoor. Like, if that's like the lightest I would go, and then I'd only go up from there. And that's partly personal opinion, right? 300 Win Mag. If I had like one caliber to choose for everything where I live, it would be 300 Win Mag.
that's the most popular caliber up here, like, for the same reason.
That brings up a question for you, because you know more about ballistics than I do. You do. So I got that Seiko 300 Win Mag. It wasn't available in the other stuff that I wanted, and I like 300 Win Mag. And it's a 1 in 11 twist. So, like, what recommendations do you have, like bullet weight on that and stuff? Because, like, I've had 1 in like 10, right? I don't think I've had a 1 in 12. I've never had a 1 in 11 twist.
Yeah. First of all, that's something Seiko needs to correct, because 1 in 10 is kind of like, so 1 in 11 is supposed to be like 150 grain in a 30 caliber, maybe 165. And so you're eliminating your like Barnes LRX, my favorite bullet in 30 caliber is 178. And there are some boxes from older lot numbers that say using 1 in 11 twist or higher. And then there's others that say using 1 in 10 twist and higher. So you're actually hurting yourself with like Barnes LRX there, because it's kind of iffy. And the other thing about like Barnes all copper bullets, let's say you get a 150 grain Okay, and you're like, well, it's 150 grain, it'll stabilize it, right? Well, here's the issue: that 150 grain in an all copper bullet is longer than a 180 grain lead bullet. So you're
Mhm.
still talking about okay, so you're like me. I got small hands. Okay, I got like 11-year-old girl size hands. But fortunately, not everything's proportional to that,
I
right?
got small hands too.
Yeah. So like me, like the twist rate, and this I'm saying this more for the audience because I know you know this, but there's no way I'm putting a spiral on an NFL football. Not happening, right? Okay, I might be able to throw it, and get it there, but I'm not putting a spiral on it. Now you hand me a middle school football, which I coached before, and the kids think I'm freaking Peyton Manning. So it's like, there's just no way, and I just feel like
Right.
that even like a 165 grain Barnes, which is like the perfect do all round for that. Like if you wanted to help anything from Antelope to the grizzly bear and wanted one round for your gun, 165 grain Barnes TTSX, right? Would do it all.
Hmm.
The overkill for Antelope by a lot, um, to the point where you want to head in their neck shoot them so that you don't ruin the meat. But
Right.
but like if you wanted one round where you could do anything from squirrels to grizzly bears, it'd be a 165 grain TTSX. And
Hmm.
in my opinion, for 300 Win
Yeah.
Mag, but you got to think with a 111 and twist, is that 165 grain going to be a little bit too long? I actually have a box over here.
I mean, like some of my research, they were saying it would be okay up to 180s, but I don't know. I've looked at like other people's reviews and it's been really mixed, like with the Seiko, because I think Tikka uses the same on some of their 300 Win Mags, if I'm correct. I mean, they're made in the same factory in Finland,
Yeah,
and they're owned by Beretta Group. So
yeah.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. I have a bunch of random 300 Win Mag ammunition that I need to use up, so I'll be trying some different things. But
So this is a 30 caliber 165 grain
okay,
TTSX. Um,
nice.
so I don't have any lead bullets to actually compare it to, but I'm thinking you might be a little bit iffy in a 111 twist. It
Mm,
doesn't say a twist rate on there. That would be about the largest I would go.
okay,
Um, that if I were hand loading, that's where I'd start with
all
these.
right.
And if those, no matter what powder I use, started spinning funnily and grouping like 3 inches at 100 yards,
Huh,
then I would be like, okay, let's go down to 150s.
right.
Um, because
Okay.
the TPSX is going to perform whether it's 160 or 150. That's not going to make a difference. Now the 130s and the 110s, yeah, good for antelope, right? But
Right.
and whitetail deer, okay. But like, and they do make it in 30 caliber, 110, and one. In fact, I got some 110s over here, but to load. But that's all hand load. And so if you're gonna do if you're gonna do 300 Win Mag, like that would be my ideal bullet. I would look into if you're doing lead bullets, I would like look into Federal Terminal Sense and
Okay.
like one because the lead bullet is gonna give you like the better, and I think they're 168 in a 30 caliber.
I think you're
It's like
right, but
a match grade, and they're a bonded bullet that's going to hold
mm-hmm,
together, and it may shed some of its weight in the front, but
mm-hmm,
beyond that, I'd look at nozzle partitions in a
mm-hmm.
specific point. I'd look at, but I mean, you're doing mostly factory ammo, so you're pretty
Yeah,
much going to be limited to what is around you. Whereas,
right.
what's cool about hand
Which isn't
loading.
very much right now.
No, no, and there's not a box of 300 Win Mag on the shelf in Alaska, except
That
for one place that has grizzly ammo,
hmm.
and the
There
grizzly.
is here. There is here, but it's super overpriced, of course, and it's really limited on selection. So, but
Yeah,
there is some available, and I do have some old because I actually didn't have a 300 Win Mag for a little while, but I had ammunition still. So I'll be just, I mean, I'll be testing it with whatever I have to begin with in a way, just to see what happens. But
well, bring it up
um,
here because I got dyes and powders and stuff.
I am thinking of so like I'm torn, right? Because like, and I probably won't make up my mind because I'm like, should I bring the Weatherby if I still have it? Should I bring the Seiko? Should I bring the Christensen? And part of that's probably going to depend on like how this next year goes shooting with them and which one I
Mhm,
like. But the Seiko might be the one because it's actually it comes with two different stocks right now. It's a
mhm,
rebate. One's a hunter and one's a precision, and then on top of that, you can actually it's a breakdown. It's a takedown stock
mhm.
so you can take the whole butt end of it off, and I can fit it in a case that's like half the length of a regular gun case, which if I'm flying is a big advantage. So I
Sure.
might end up taking that just for that purpose in itself. But
Yeah. I like I said, I'm going to be hunting with my 6.5 by 284 just because it's the lightest rifle I have. If you and I are doing that walkout one at least,
right.
and I haven't built anything with it, if we're going to have to do the 5 mile walkout. But yeah, when you come up here, um, yeah, if you want to take a bunch of 300, the only way to get ammo to and from here is to take it on the airplane with you. You can carry 11
Mhm.
pounds. If you fly Alaskan Airlines, you can actually carry more, by the way. But
Well, you let me know what you need if you need
yeah.
to.
Oh, I'll send you a list. But you can take back, like, if we have some time later, you can take back a bunch of 300 hand loads. Uh,
Okay, cool.
if you bring brass, or you can ship the brass. So if you want to ship the
Huh.
brass, ship
Yeah,
the brass.
I could probably. I have a lot. I had well, yeah, I have tons of brass for stuff. I have brass for other calibers too. Might be able to work
Yeah,
something out.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I'll pay you for some 6.5 Creedmoor brass. I don't have enough.
I got about 3,000 rounds of once fired brass, but it's probably not the brass you want.
What what is it?
It's Hornady brass.
Oh,
It's
that's not
once
bad.
fired, but it's
Hornet
once
is actually,
fired.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not bad.
I literally have like 3,000 casings. They were once fired Hornady, and I have 300 PRC and all kinds of stuff that I could try to hook you up with. Looks like a lot more questions.
Ask Bullets4Bucks if he knows.
he
Love
this
listening.
I this guy teases me all the time. He
Well, he does say you are a great guy. So
yeah,
there.
yeah, he's a good guy.
My Tikka T3X and 6.5 Creedmoor shot max loads of stay ball 6.5 and LR 127 X 127 1.5 MOA. Literally loaded up 50 more of those today. I'd buy another. Not stuck on Tikka either. Okay, cool. That's awesome, man. Because I literally have that same load ready for my Bergara. So
Mhm.
I gotta go try them out because my Bergara shoots the factory load the best. It shoots the factory one the best. But one thing about Barnes Factory, buy everything of the same lot number you can because they will chronograph different in different lot numbers.
I have like two things against Tikka rifles, and when I mean that, I mean the super light and the light. I mean, like, I don't mean they're more expensive maybe models, and it's their stocks are still kind of chintzy, and I
Okay.
hate their receiver lug, the way their recoil lug is in the receiver. I
Mhm.
absolutely hate that. Apart from that, if how it or if they did everything different, I would love them even more. But those are the two things I hate on about Tikka.
I
But
said drop it like it's Scott. He's probably already gone. It hadn't got to him yet, but
mm,
good channel. It's a good guy. Um, the 17 HM2 is the best hunting cartridge ever. There you go, man. All right, you go take Grizzlies with theirs with that. They got ear holes. Yeah. So
I'm an idiot. What's the 17 HMR, right? What's the HM2? What am I
the
missing here?
HM2 is the Hornady Mark II. I think it's a 22 long rifle casing, neck down to a 17 bullet instead of a
Okay.
22 Magnum casing, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
And you can actually find that.
Hmm.
Um, I'm the Hornady handgun hunter ammo do yet. Oh, we haven't tested it yet. We were going to, but we didn't get a chance. Um, if it affects everyone differently, who remembers the mass spread of swine flu and how dangerous that was? No mandates back then. Yeah, but it didn't spread like COVID did here. Like it did not like make it here and have the hundreds of thousands of millions of cases. So Kentucky Patriot, what's up, man? Yep, my energy level's down intermittent too. I take C, D, zinc, and a few other things every day. Yep, me too. C, D, zinc, a few other things every day. I had actually had low vitamin D levels, and my doctor put me on vitamin D about a month and a half before I got it. And then had me, and then my vitamin D had went up. I probably would have been in big trouble had I not gotten that blood work beforehand. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah. Ohio, the same landowner can deny. See, and when I grew up in Georgia, the landowner couldn't deny it, but they could. But you had to get. You did have to ask for their permission, and then if they denied it, you could get the cops involved, or
Hmm.
the local law enforcement involved.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions in Wyoming about game and fish. That's what we call them out here. And as far as what I know is that, I mean, I did try to ask the landowner 3 or 4 different times. I couldn't actually go to his house because it was gated, but I got hung up on and stuff like that. They wouldn't talk to me. I left messages, and then yeah, Game and Fish basically told me I was on my own. I had heard before that the rumor was, you call Game and Fish and they'll go with you and escort you. But I think that's kind of maybe a case by case maybe type thing. I don't think it's the law in Wyoming. I think that's just like sometimes maybe that happens, like the
Yeah,
landowner's like, hey, if you escort them on or something. But it's ultimately in Wyoming, it's the landowner can do what they want essentially.
yeah. Sounds like you need to call your state representative and get on that. So,
Well, that's not even we're not even going to get into the fact that we have millions and millions. We have more landlocked state land and and public lands in Wyoming than any other state. And in my county is one of the worst in the state. Millions of acres landlocked in it, and ranchers purposely have it surrounded, and then they charge you to go on, or they don't let you at all. It's ridiculous.
so you either have to have a helicopter or an
Right.
airplane to get in,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and that's
It's
a lot hard. Yeah,
And it's not a little bit. It's like millions of acres. It's thousands of acres in a chunk. And I'm in one of the worst counties for it. I'm in a richer county with a lot of money and a lot of old ranchers with a lot of money. And not all ranchers are bad, right? I'm not trying to say that, but it's been like this for years. And of course they feel like you shouldn't have the right to go through their land. And then there's people that know we should have a legal like easement. And I think I'm of the opinion we should have a legal easement. They shouldn't, if it's public land, we should have access to it, and they shouldn't be able to restrict access to it. But that's been
yeah,
fighting. It's being fought in court right now, actually. So
yeah.
we'll
I
see what
mean,
happens.
I know a lot of other states you can't have a landlocked property, and so the question is, can the government have a landlocked property? That's the question here for public
Hmm.
use. And I would say the answer to that should be no. You should be able to have an easement, even
Hmm.
if the even if the rancher has to maintain a road down the edge of his property for an easement and
Hmm.
gets to charge a modest fee to maintain the road. That's
Yeah.
one thing, but like charging you
Yeah.
$10,000 to cross his land.
Yeah. No, and this was purposely done when the land was being basically staked out. This was purposely done by ranchers and stuff, so they could basically graze their cattle, and like essentially they could buy a couple hundred acres and owned thousands just by buying this strategically placed land. And then there's checkerboarding in
Hmm.
Wyoming as well. That's what they call it. It's checkerboarded. And
Hmm.
I forget, there's a reason why it was done that way. I forget what it was, but anyway, um, there's a court case right now, and they're trying to raise millions of dollars. It's a huge thing in Wyoming. It hasn't gone to court in a long time. This is like a landmark court case. This will set case law and precedent. So it's a really big deal in Wyoming right now. And there's organizations raising money for these. It's 4 hunters that got charged with criminal trespass for corner hopping is what they call it, because they're claiming that even though you're going from one corner to the other, you're in the airspace at some point of the private landowner, so it's illegal to corner hop is essentially what they're saying. And this case could either make it so that yes, it's definitely illegal, which has been kind of a gray area, or no, it'll set precedent and you can legally corner hop. Obviously I'm hoping that it comes out we can legally corner hop, because if we can, that'll open up a lot of access.
Yeah. Okay, that
Right.
makes sense. Mm. All right. Bernaba is here saying Texas is the same. You can't trespass to retrieve game. If you do and you get caught, you can be charged with poaching. Yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong. Has having
280. Oh, that's a good one. 280 is
That's a
good.
good one. Yeah.
I like 280 AI.
Having 300 PRC, 7 millimeter STW. A lot of them 30 calibers killed a lot of game animals. Yeah. The reason why 30 calibers killed a lot of game animals is World War One. The soldiers came back from World War One with a 30-06 and said, "Holy crap, this thing puts down Germans. I'm going to see how it puts down deer."
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it became very popular because it was putting down deer better than a 30-30. You know.
Yeah. 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 And going back to the rancher thing, like I can understand their mindset, right? Because we want to live in part of a fundamental part of America and our freedom, or the United States, is being able to have private land ownership and defend that right. So I can understand their side, but like I said, we should have an easement is all I think.
Yeah.
Just
Or
picking.
it should just be they have to sell off certain acreage so that it's not landlocked. I mean, like they can own and they can even graze back behind their property. But there
Right.
still be like
Well,
there's
public land grazing is huge in Wyoming. There's lots of public land grazing, which is you don't even have to live near it to graze on it. But
mhm,
just picked up a
take a tea
7
tree.
MMO8. I've heard people use for elk. It's probably on the lighter side of things, but
100 foot-pounds of energy more than a Creedmoor on a 6.5
right.
Creedmoor on average. So, like, would that have saved you with your issue if you had a 7 millimeter 08 instead of a 6.5 Creedmoor? Probably not with the Hornady ELDX, but with a good bullet, possibly. Who knows?
The biggest thing that would have saved me, if I can blame equipment, it was probably me, is my rangefinder actually was broken. I sent it in and they actually confirmed it was broken. I was ranging 150 and it ended up being 350. So that was the
Oh,
main reason for Baya. And I knew something was off, but I kept ranging. But I at the end of the day, I decided to go with trust the machine because usually you're wrong, and it turned out I was actually right. But I sent it in, and that was that Nikon Monarch 3000 rangefinder. I did a review on it. I have done nothing but I hate that range. Don't buy that rangefinder. It's one of those things where a model is bad. Don't get that model. Um, and most rangefinders say they're going to range way more than they are. That's normal, kind of. But this thing is supposed to range, 3,000 reflective and this and that. I can get it to range anything beyond 800, 850, period. Even with the replaced brand new one they sent me, and it's not a good buy. That was a bad model.
I have had nothing but good luck, except for I lose them like an idiot with my Sig Kilos.
I've
My
heard good
Sig.
things about those. I
The worst thing about my Sig Kilo is there's no thing on the bottom for a tripod. That's the worst thing.
mm,
You have to buy a $80 tripod adapter,
mm,
which sucks. But 80 freaking bucks for this piece of sheet metal that wraps around it and has a little tripod in it, and it doesn't even look that good. It's not like
yeah,
styled or anything. It looks like four pieces of straight aluminum. But it's but like I've had the 2200 and the 2400 and the 2000 because I've lost them all and then got different ones on sale. I think I have a 2000 right now that I got on sale cheap at Cabela's, and not as bright as I would like, but it has
right.
been spot on. Everyone I've had has been spot on.
Hmm.
One was in my duck hunting pack when the field flooded, and I don't didn't. It was in my hunting pack, my frame pack, which I used duck hunting because my decoys were on the back of it,
Hmm.
and I set it down in a place. The field flooded, and there was no way we were going to get to our hunting area that night.
Oh,
And so I set it down in a place when we walked around the flooded field trying to jump birds.
hmm.
And the place I set it down, I thought it was dry. It was up on some bushes, and it sank down, and it was just sat in the water that long. It's supposed to be waterproof, but it sat in the water for like an hour, and it died.
Yeah. So
So
is uh,
it's waterproof if you cross a stream. It's not waterproof if you
huh.
soak it. So that is the other bad thing about it. But reflective objects, I've hit like a car. I've hit 2,000 yards, easy.
Nice.
Trees, they say it'll do 12 to 1,500 on trees. My longest one on trees, if I have it really steady, is 1,588 yards.
Sig came out with a bino rangefinder and ballistics calculating that is
Mhm.
supposed to be like one of the best on the market. I have the Vortex Fury 5000 AB as of 2 months ago, so I'll be using that. And it's been amazing. But when you think about it, first, if you're going to use your rangefinder for archery and rifle, don't get binos because it's not good for archery. It's like you're overdoing it, and you can't use one with one hand, right? And then another thing to consider is they are quite heavy with it. If they have the ballistic calculator in there, then they're really heavy. I think that one. What was the question though that he was asking about his T3X and his recoil lug too? I think we
Okay,
one.
we missed that. Can't
Yeah,
get.
and is that the recoil lug on the receiver? Or are you talking about the bolt lugs? That's what I'm curious about. Is he talking about the bolt lugs, or is he talking
If the
about?
recoil lug on the receiver,
He
I would
might.
say get it properly bedded and see if it does any better.
That's like I was just mentioning with the one thing I don't like about Tikka is their recoil lug system and their stocks, and that's because they use a separate piece of metal that sandwiches between the receiver, a slot in the receiver, and a slot in the plastic polymer stock, if you have the polymer one. So um, what that allows is, of course, you have more room for it to shift, basically. And then also that when they used the older T3s, if I don't know if he has a T3X or T3, it says T3. The older ones were aluminum, which they could warp over time. So what I did with mine is I epoxied the recoil lug into the recess in the stock, and then I just torque it down. It's If you have a wooden stock T3 or T3X, I would glass bed the whole receiver area. But if you have the polymer, it's kind of hard because you have tons of hollowed out areas in
Yeah.
the plastic, makes it really hard to glass bed. It's possible, it's really hard. But I would start by epoxying that recoil lug in place and then like torquing it down probably to see if that helps.
Yep. And I do have the Woodstock Tikka, and it's gorgeous though.
Is that the
Um,
Forest or Forester? Is that?
yeah, it's the Forest, and they've changed it to where the Woodstock has the straight stock now. But I have one of the older stocks that has the raised cheek comb on it,
Mm,
and that is such a much better stock for us short, fat-faced people that really like to
mm,
tuck in tight to our rifle. Um,
right.
that was my biggest issue with why I think I couldn't get my 300 Win Mag Tikka to shoot, is because no matter how far I moved a scope forward with 4 inches of eye relief, it would hit me in the face because it's so light. And it's
Mm,
I put a here was the mistake. I put a limb saver recoil pad on it, and so it's using the recoil pad as a what do you call it, a fulcrum, right?
mm,
Against my shoulder to come up, and so the scope was going to hit me in the face
mm,
every time, no matter what
mm.
I did. And because it's such a light rifle, and I've actually noticed on was doing a review which I haven't published on a Blackhound Optics.
Uh-huh.
I was doing a review on their scopes, and their scope is nice. Their eye
Hmm.
relief on it sucks.
Oh
It's
man, eye relief in me. It's like so. What the Vortex Diamondback, not the Diamondback Tactical, the Diamondback. Did a review on it. Hate that scope. It
absolutely
has
agree.
anything less than a 3.5 eye relief to me pisses me off because I
Yeah,
want to be comfortable and properly positioned behind the rifle so that I shoot better and not end up with a neck ache, right? Or scope
correct.
myself.
Hmm.
And so if you're looking for a scope, just for all the people, it's like 3.5 and up. Four is even better. I like a
Yeah,
lot of eye relief. And
yeah,
especially if you're getting higher power, because the more you magnify a scope, the shorter your eye relief basically becomes,
yep,
and or the narrower the window to your. So you want to have an adequate eye relief, and you'll find on cheaper scopes, especially, that's a lot of the spot. Like they might hold zero, they might track, but their eye relief might really suck.
yep, absolutely. And so what I've noticed on that Blackhound Optics on the Tikka T3X 270 is I was wearing a hat with a bill on it like you because it was not
Mhm.
winter yet, and it would knock my hat off every time. And I still got good groups, but I knew I was just about to start flinching because I knew what happened on that 300 Win Mag, and at that point it plays with your mind, you know.
Yeah,
And so yeah, it's yeah, so that's the one thing about that. I totally agree with you. If it's not a 4 inch scope, don't use it for hunting. That's that. So let's see, 7 millimeter ring mag, 168 grain, long range Accubonds. Also a great bullet. The long range Accubon's one of my favorite. I haven't got them to shoot accurately in anything I've tried yet, but I haven't tried them enough. I'll admit I haven't tried them enough. The regular Accubonds shot well out of my 30-06, but they were going so slow they did not open up on a caribou at 280 yards.
Hmm.
Um, because they were 180 grain Accubonds. I had loaded them to go 2650. They were shooting about an inch out of a Ruger American. And because it was a 22-inch barrel, I think they were actually going 2588 instead of 2650, or 2700, and they were actually going slightly below 26. And so by the time they got to 280 yards, they were acting like a full metal jacket because they're just
hmm.
Accubond's a very tough bullet. So if you're using Accubond, you want to be in a 7 mag, getting 3,000 feet per second. Now
I've heard I've heard those Accubonds work really good on elk. I've never used them, but I've heard good
I would
things. Yeah,
imagine they would because elk's a big, tough animal.
yeah.
But they just went straight through a caribou. But
Mm-hmm.
here's the 6.5 by 284 130 grain Accubond. These are rated at 2,900, and I would only use these on black bear out to 300 yards. Like I wouldn't. These actually shoot same point of impact as my LRX, and I've got a box and like a box and a quarter of them left. So it's like, well, box and a quarter. I'm just gonna save those. You know, I'm just gonna save those. So is what it is. But I would use that. This past weekend, I shot an AR-10 and 6.5 Creedmoor. It's fantastic video to come next week. Sweet, man. I love my AR-10 and 6.5 Creedmoor. I need to shoot it more. I haven't shot it, and I put a scope on it and hadn't even sighted it in yet. So because it's been -10 or -15 every time I wanted to go. And like I said, my 6.5 PRC sucked last weekend, but it could have just been me and shivering in -5 degrees. You know.
Does yours feed good? Your
No,
AR-10?
I got this. The AR-10 and 6.5 Creedmoor. Yeah, feeds fantastic.
Does it?
No issues. I've had when it was really cold one day. I had the 10-round magazine not lock the bolt open a couple times on the last round. Okay. Who cares? But yeah, that's the worst that it's had. So it would not lock the bolt open. It would eject the round, and the round would hit my barrier that I had to catch all my brass and go back into the thing and jam. You know. But that's not the gun's fault. That's me having the barrier there to catch the brass because I want to catch my brass. For elk, let's see, 300 Vanguard, 300 Weatherby pillar and glass bit for action. Got 175 grain LRX to group 0.6 MOA prone off a bipod. Can't complain about that. Some videos of it all.
The Vanguard's a Howa. It's a different stock, but it's a Howa.
Pretty much. It is.
And they straight flute the bolt, and sometimes they do a couple other things. One thing I know, because I know a lot of guys who work at Weatherby, is basically sometimes the trigger feels better than the Howa trigger, but it's the same trigger. All it is they basically go over, do extra QC, and they sometimes tune it a little bit. And so that's why you might like, it feels better, even, but it's the same trigger. It's just what they're doing is they're doing some little bit of tweak into it, and they're doing a little extra QC on the rifle. Weatherby just assembles rifles. They don't make anything. They'll Cerakote them, and they finish the stocks, like they'll put the gloss finish on them, things like that. But they take components. The action comes from ATEC in Minnesota, I believe. The stocks come from, mine comes from Peak 44 in the United States, I believe that is. The Trigger Tech triggers come from Canada. So they're just like, they assemble, they like modify, and they do extra QC on stuff basically.
In Oregon, you can go through private to get to public. That's interesting.
Nice. Well, in North Dakota, you can hunt private as long as it's not posted otherwise without even asking, and it's like normal. Like you can just hunt private. You can just walk on it.
Wow, that's crazy. That to me is crazy.
It does seem crazy.
Yeah. Call number one. Hey, Darth Yogi. Good to see you. Good to see you. Honest comrade, I'm glad you're here too, by the way. You can order steel lugs, ask Tikka. I'm sure they'll send you a lug for free. There you go.
Yeah, get yourself a lighter trigger spring too, but don't take that from me. I don't want the liability.
There you go. Ruger American Predator and 243, best shooting rifle I own. Yeah, it's amazing. Those Ruger American Predators are actually really good.
Yeah.
Cool. 80 degrees here today. There you go. All right, we have gotten to the end of the chat, and we've ran about 30 minutes over for my allotted time. So, any final questions? Put them in the chat. We may or may not get to them. Stephen, tell us what's coming up on your channel and all those cool guns you're going to test, and tell everybody about your channel. Usually, I have a moderator who puts the link to your channel in the description or in a comment or something like that. So I'll make sure one of them does that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's Bullets4Bucks, all one word with the number 4 instead of the word. So you can find me that way too. Like I said, we do hunting content, gun reviews, optics reviews, and hunting gear reviews primarily. Some other stuff thrown in there. I have, like I said, I got a brand new Seiko S20. We'll be testing with the precision stock and the hunter stock that comes with it. Those are polymer stocks with a fully embedded aluminum chassis basically in the polymer. So excited to test that. Then I got the Christensen Ridgeline to test. I'm going to be doing more testing on the Weatherby Backcountry 2.0. Got a couple scopes coming to a Vortex PST Gen 2, I believe. And we got the Steiner and I'm gonna mess it up. I think it's like the T5XI or something like that scope. So I'll be doing reviews on that. You know, over the dead of winter, it's a little hard to do shooting reviews, but we'll get to what we can. But that's kind of what's going on with me.
All right. Daryl Pachoco has a question here. Anybody have any experience with the Tikka T3 Hunter with the Woodstock? I was thinking of getting one in 270. Guess what, buddy? There's a whole playlist on my channel. Like I've got one literally. If I could show it on YouTube, it's literally sitting right beside me. We got it for my wife because we got my wife a 6.5 Creedmoor, and I was just thinking if she hunts moose, it's just a little 6.5 Creedmoor is a little light for moose. Um, could you do it? Have people done it? Yes. Should you do it? Eh. Same thing you were talking about elk. Moose, I don't
Yeah,
think have the physical toughness of an elk, but they're still bigger, you know?
yeah.
So
They
like,
they die quicker, I think, but they're still big. And like
yeah,
people use the 6.5 Swede in Europe for moose, but
yeah,
it's the same conversation. Do you want that insurance or don't you? You know what I mean?
yep.
So
So, and the guy I bought my four-wheeler from said his buddy shot one with the 6.5 Creedmoor. It ran off, and he shot it running at 200 yards in the back of the head with the 6.5 Creedmoor. I'm like, oh, and that dropped it. So I was like, well, there you go. So that's that. I just Hunter, good night. See who just got a Seiko S20. Yeah, I saw that too. Um, Federal Fusion 3030 and Winchester. Yeah, I would say Federal Fusion 3030 for like deer hunting in a deer stand. Yeah. 65 degrees today here in Missouri. Yeah, there you go. Federal
nice.
Fusion Love. All right, guys. Coming up on the channel, I have a review of my snowshoes. Since I have to often use snowshoes on my range, a lot of people have asked in the comments, and I've always said I've gotten cheap ones that suck. Well, now I don't have cheap ones that suck, so I've got a new. At least they haven't sucked so far. I usually end up breaking them in a year or two, so we'll see how they do. But my wife got me really good ones for my birthday the other day, and my fat butt even got out and went up the hillside by my house looking for grouse, and it was too windy for grouse. But these are 36 inches, and they held my, supposed to be 250-pound limit on 36 inches. I am fatter than 250 pounds right now, and I walked to a mile and a half up the mountain and sideways along the mountain and back in the snowshoes. No issues with my fat butt, all of my heavy clothing, my pack that had, a day pack essentially, and 44 Magnum on my chest because bears still come out sometimes. So anyway, yeah, these did good. So I've got a good review on those. Yeah, so check that out tomorrow. That video comes out. Not my typical content, but definitely something you need to have a pair of if you live in a northern state. Even for you guys that don't hunt, snowshoeing is actually a lot of fun because you don't need trails like cross country skiing. You don't need an ice skating rink. You can literally put on some snowshoes, go walk through the woods, and make your own darn trail. And what's cool is, if you clear brush and stuff out of the way, that trail will be there. Um, Even it'll be started to be used as a game trail throughout the spring, and when stuff melts, the game will go that way. So it's pretty cool. So that's that. Love your channels, guys. Blessings. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Check out that 270. So, all right, guys. God bless. Take care. We will see you all at the range.
All right. Have a good night.